That was funny.
Okay.
You know what's going to be great with this?
Tell me.
Guess who we get to set up a fight with today?
Who?
Chris Canty v. Nuno. Nuno, go ahead. Right off the bat.
Let's
Off the
go.
bat. I just do a slip-in of maybe a controversial non-call on Jared Allen with Asar Thompson at the end of regulation. It goes to overtime, and an amazing stretch at 107-105. A Donovan Mitchell 3. Max Strus steals the inbound, gets it to Donovan Mitchell. Layup, 5-point swing, 112-105 at that point. Up 7 in overtime, never look back. Okay, we're going to get into the details of the game, but let's set up a fight between one Chris Canty and Nuno, our producer. Go ahead, Nuno.
All right, Canty, before we get into the whole, like, the Pistons blew it and, yes, right, all that stuff, was that not a foul? Like, would that have been called in the second quarter, in the first quarter? That would have been. Like,
No, it wouldn't have been.
Yes, it would.
No, according to JB Bickerstaff, it wouldn't have been called. That's been the whole issue.
Okay, here's the funny part about this. Yesterday afternoon, there was an article that came out that the NBA defended the 11% increase in foul calls during the playoffs, right? Like, and then you have that. Also, and I've obviously, Detroit destroyed the Knicks all year, but so I'm not the fact I'm defending them ever since Donovan Mitchell complained about not getting calls, which was after game 2, I think it was. They've shot 50 something more free throws than the Pistons.
Yeah, they shot 18 more free throws than them last night. Yeah.
And granted, Asar Thompson going to the line for 2, the likelihood he makes even 1, is slim to none. But
Mark Price, he is not at the free throw line.
Exactly. But I just I can see why when you see that, when you watch that, you're like, how is that not called?
No, I hear you. I will counter with you had a 9-point lead with 3 minutes to go. You gave up the goals. Not the other way around. You couldn't find offense outside of Cade Cunningham. In clutch time, you know what the Cavs did? They trapped Cade. You know why? Because nobody else could step up offensively for the Pistons.
That's right.
Not nobody. Jalen Duren was a ghost in that game. Let me tell you something. When Paul Reed is the best big on the floor for the Pistons, that leads to nowhere for Detroit. Detroit had every opportunity to put their imprint on the game, to play with force down the stretch, and to close it out. They gave up the ghost at home. They thought it was in the bag. They were up 15 in the second quarter. Let the Cavs claw back in that game instead of extending a lead. Then in the fourth quarter, when the Cavs had a stretch where they were 0 for 9 in the field with 3 turnovers, you couldn't capitalize and put the game out of reach. That was on Detroit. That was on nobody else. Cade Cunningham, that careless turnover in overtime that led to a Donovan Mitchell layup, that's on you, bro, not the officials. So you can point to all of the missed calls and, it was a foul by Jared Allen. Forget about all that. Detroit had so many mistakes, and they couldn't take advantage of the miscues that the Cavs themselves had. James Harden missed 3 free throws in clutch time and overtime. 3 of them. And 1 in overtime, you let him get his own rebound. It's ridiculous. So stop trying to blame the officials. Stop trying to channel your inner JB Bickerstaff and look at what's happening on the court. The Pistons aren't playing winning basketball when it matters. And that's why, for the first time in this series, we had a road team win.
Take that, Nuno. Take that.
Put it in your pipe and smoke it, Nuno. And, oh, by the way, do we have a wellness check on Javante?
Oh.
Do we know? Have we heard?
I would assume we're going to have a Pistons minute during I'm over at 7:45.
Minute?
Because they're about to be out of
second.
They're about to be out of the playoffs in a minute.
It might need to be a minute today.
Yeah, they're about to be out of the
Let Javante
Yeah, but we
empty
thought
his
that when they were
feelings.
trailing 3-1 against Orlando.
No. This is different. This is different.
They got Donovan Mitchell across
This
the
is
way.
different. Yeah, this is different.
And I know he wasn't great for him last night.
Well, he was a 7-2 run in overtime by himself.
Yeah, no, I understand, but totality of game, he wasn't like the typical Donovan Mitchell game.
But you got James Harden putting up 30.
But that's the point, though. It wasn't a Donovan Mitchell game.
And you still lost at home.
And you lost at home. And you had a game where Max Strus and Evan Mobley combined for 39 points. And you say this all the time. Your role players got to get you one.
Yep.
Last night, it felt like the role players got you one. Because Max Strus was the key.
That's right.
He played winning basketball all night long. Forget about the 6 threes that he made coming off the bench. He just made winning plays, defensively being able to lock down, being able to make the right pass, the right basketball play. That matters. Max Strus, one of your former guys,
That's right.
They understand what it means to put their team in position to compete at the highest level this time of year. And that was the key last night. Because I don't think James Harden was as good as the box score would tell you he was. Donovan Mitchell wasn't as good as the box score would tell you he was. The Cavs allowed 27 points off of turnovers. They had ridiculous ball security. But they were able to overcome that. They got to the free throw line. And again, you had guys like Evan Mobley, like Max Strus, like Dean Wade make winning plays all night long.
I'm glad you brought up the role player thing. It's the Udonis Haslem line that he says all the time of star players got to get you 2. Mm-hmm. Well, Harden and Mitchell have already gotten you 1. Role players got to get you 1. Well, that was, as you said, that was a Max Strus. Evan Mobley has now become a highly paid, highly anticipated in terms of growth. I don't want to say role player. He has a role on this team.
He's the third option.
Yes. So he's not necessarily a top 2 guy right now. And he played with a griminess and a nasty last night. There was one dunk specifically. That's the one. That's the one where I watched that and I'm like,
hammer.
All right, he's different tonight because he actually had that kind of dunk. You mentioned Max Strus. At one point, he had 2 offensive rebounds on the same possession. Like that, you don't get 1 offensive rebound most of the time. He got 2 on the same possession. So, which means, by the way, Kenny Atkinson, the head coach, has got to get them 1 over the next 2. He's got to come up with something that we look at and we analyze that game. And the game will be on Friday here on ESPN Radio, as all games are presented by Gusto. Or no, many of the games are, presented by Gusto. And I think that he's got to get you 1. I'm glad you brought up the Pistons though with Cade. Watching that game, Smalls, late last night, I'm just sitting there and I'm like. So the offense is give him the ball and let him just figure it out because they don't. And I know Duncan Robinson was out, but like, what do they do exactly on offense? And it took me back to the draft a few years ago. While the player may not have been right for the team at the time, I last night had this realization of I understand why Jaden Ivey was picked where he was. Jaden Ivey he's not on a team right now. He's a combo guard who's a score first kind of guard but can guard a point guard. They desperately need that. Because if not for Cade, they don't do anything on offense.
Yeah.
They don't. I almost.
And no Duncan Robinson last night.
Yes, and Duncan coming off of screens, etc. Yeah. But like, what do they do other than Cade just figure this out? I'm not saying it's LeBron 07. That's not what I'm saying. Obviously, they're better than that. In terms of offense, because LeBron was literally by himself, but like it's not that far off from that at this point. Like, what do they do on offense?
Do you think this is still them taking steps and them growing as a unit?
Yeah, and it almost retroactively, we may look back at the season for the Pistons and be like, it kind of stunk that they were the 1 seed because we may look at this as a failure.
Because our expectations were higher for them?
If they lose this series, instead of just like, hey, this is part of the process, not that process, but the development.
But the overall growth and evolution of this group.
They almost would have been better off as a 2 or a 3 seed.
Agree
like, hey,
with that.
Steps in the right direction. You're ready for it next year.
Because we wouldn't say that about this Cavs group, but we would say that about Detroit.
No, we're heading in a direction where the conference finals, when Tyrese Halliburton got hurt and Jason Tatum got hurt, I think we all said conference finals next year better be Cavs next.
Yeah.
You guys have a head start.
That's
Orlando
right.
and Detroit are kind of inches away. Yeah. You guys better get there.
We said no excuses for both of those groups.
And how did they get there? The Knicks had to fire a head coach to get there, and the Cavs had to break up a core to get there, but they're going to get there. We're going to have the conference finals thought we should have.
It justifies the James Harden trade. Moving on from Darius Garland, a young all-star, to bring over James Harden, it justifies that if you get to the conference finals. I have a hard time being able to compare that in-season move to any one that we've seen in recent memory. But this has been a huge, huge move in terms of getting this Cavs team to spin it forward and get to the championship rounds. And it's big in terms of them being able to retain Donovan Mitchell because all of a sudden now you're 1 win away from getting to the Final Four, and it would be the first conference finals appearance without LeBron for the Cleveland Cavs since 1992. So this is monumental. If the Cavs can hold serve at home in Game 6 and punch their ticket, then everything that they've done in the second half of this season is justified, starting with the move to trade for James Harden, how they handled the end of the regular season, choosing your own adventure, making sure that you matched up against Toronto in round 1 and potentially Detroit in round 2. this justifies all of the decisions that the brass for the Detroit Pistons have made.
No
if
doubt.
they can get to the conference finals.
No doubt. And James Harden deserves a lot of credit. I mean, we were rightfully crushing him in the first couple games of this series because we're like, this is who he is. Why would the Cavs expect anything different? But credit to him because he didn't listen to the noise. He maintained his poise. He talked about it last night, how he's still figuring this out with Donovan being the first option and him being in this system and in this role with this team. And he was great for them. He's been great for them the past couple games. He had 30 last night, and I just really give him a lot of credit for being able to stay composed and within himself and not let the moment and what everyone was saying about him and the history of his playoff performances overwhelm him.
But let's hear from James Harden, of course, future Hall of Famer, on his time now with the Cleveland Cavaliers.
This is new for me. So, like, we keep talking about, like, I've only been here 2.5 months, you know what I mean? So, like, the things that we were going through is all new, So, like, learning how to be, in second option and feed and play off